welcome everybody to another Money Amigos podcast. And so today we thought we would give you all a very fun, interesting topic. The things that our clients didn't allow us to save them from because they never told us what was happening. As you know, the Money Amigos are comprised of a tax attorney, a CPA, and myself teaching financial literacy. And we all have stories where just because our clients didn't call us and tell us what was going on, we were not able to save them from themselves. And today, I'm just going to start off. I did it. So today, as you all know, Beverly, or if you don't know, Beverly and her law firm are my tax advisors. So when it deals with tax, that's who I go to. For whatever reason, I decided to sell my car today, and I just didn't think about it. I just was like, I'm gonna sell the car, so I sold the car. And after doing that, she was like, oh, that means that you're going to have an effect. There's going to be an effect to you from a tax standpoint. And I was like, no, I didn't know. And she said, why didn't you call me beforehand? And I realized I didn't call her just because I didn't think about it. I just honestly had an impulse, and I just went with it. And then I started thinking of all the clients that have told me what has occurred after the fact. And I know Beverly has some great stories. We will leave out the names to save the innocent, but we're going to tell you a couple of stories of situations where our clients just didn't tell us what was going on until after, and we felt horrible because we could have saved them from themselves. So before we dive in, Attorney Beverly Winstead, can you tell everybody who you are in the name of your firm and how they can get in touch with you?
Sure. Beverly Winstead. I am the principal of the law offices of Beverly Winstead. We're a tax resolution firm located here in the Washington, D.C. area. And we generally help people that have problems with the IRS, whether they're going through an IRS audit, owe the IRS and want to get maybe some type of settlement or some type of arrangement because they can't fully pay. Or if they feel like they've been treated unfairly by the IRS, then, we can go into court and defend them. I see Joye is chiming in now, coming in. So it's
how can they get in touch with you?
Money Amigos now, because of course, just you and I, we having this little dance party going on.
And how can they get in contact with you?
Sure, you can get in contact with me by calling the office at 301-306-1234, or you can also visit my website at www.irshelpattorneys.com.
All right, and again, my name is Brent Simpson. I am one of the co-founders of Investing Education Academy, where we educate our client base on investing, basically looking at the stock market, real estate, and cryptocurrency. So if anybody who is watching this or listening to our podcast is thinking, you know what, I really do want to get into this stock market game, this cryptocurrency game, and I say game for a reason, and you just don't know who to turn to, please come to us. Now, today in particular, we've included all of our websites in the title. So for those of you all who are trying to contact us, only thing you have to do is go to the title and you can contact us directly. And like I said, today we're going to talk about all the clients who never, or not, as not going to say never. We're going to talk about the clients that just didn't tell us what they were doing until after they did it. And if they would have just told us, we would have been able to help them. And before we dive into this fully, we have CPA Joye joining us, and she can tell you the name of her firm and how to get in contact with her.
Hello, everyone. My name is Joye Fistrunk of Premier Group. I can be reached at 301-577-6444, or you can also go to our website, www.bgs-cpa.com.
Now, again, we are going to leave out the names of the people to whom we're speaking about to protect the innocent and the unknowing. But I'm telling, from a service provider standpoint, this happens to us often. And like I said, I raised my hand because I did it today. We're oftentimes the recipients of emails or a phone call or a text or a message where our clients tell us what went wrong. And our first thought is, why didn't you just call us? We could have saved you from yourself. And it's not that they do this maliciously. I don't think anybody says, oh, I want to do something harmful to myself or to my company or in my tax situation or with my accounting or with my investments. What happens is you accidentally do these things even though you have the person you're paying, your advisor, is in your phone. You just don't think about it. So hopefully today, from hearing these stories that we're going to share with you all, you will say, you know what? Next time I have a thought, I'm going to make sure, and this is important, that I call and at least tell my professional what's going on in case there was something better or a better way to do it. Now, that's important because not always are you wrong, and we're not saying you're wrong, but we are saying sometimes you just don't think about it. So round robin style, I'll go first. And this is actually me being a bad client of Beverly's. So recently I started my car and it made a weird noise. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sell it. That's pretty much the extent to what my thought process was. I was like, it's time for a new car anyway. I'll just sell it. Within 2 days, which today being day number 2, the car is gone. I sold it today. And going into a different meeting, I talked to Beverly and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm at the car place. I just sold my car. And she's like, it's a business car. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, do you know what happens with depreciation? And my response was, no, I do not. Nor did I think about it because it was a knee-jerk response. And we have to train ourselves to call our professionals, to call our network, to call our team and say, you know what? I have this thought. And is there anything I should think about before it? And I know some of the reasons we avoid these things. We think, oh, man, it's going to cost more money. As soon as I pick up the phone, they start charging me. Oh, you know what? It's simple. I can do it on my own. This isn't a big deal. What's the worst that can happen? Though all those thoughts go through us in addition to the one that looms over everybody. I just didn't think about it. And so let's share. And I'm gonna jump to Joye. Because I know you recently had a situation where one of your clients could have avoided a situation with the IRS if you had known or if they would have contacted you ahead of time. And do you remember that situation?
No, but I can use another one. I don't remember the exact one. But I have plenty. I had a client that decided that they wanted to become debt free. And so what they decided to do was take $350,000 out of their 401k account and pay off all of their bills. And they did not realize that created a huge tax liability because, one, the money that you take out of your 401k is on a paycheck basis is pre-tax. So if you're not 55 or you don't have special circumstances, when you take the money out, it's a taxable event and it gets added to your wages and everything else, and it pushes you into a new tax bracket. And the tax bill that person had for trying to be debt free was about $150,000 to the federal, and another probably $50,000 to $60,000 to the state because of it. So while their intentions were good, just like what you were talking about, Brent, while you have good intentions, they didn't think about the other side, and they lost because they paid their house off. They lost their interest deduction. It just created all of these little micro or mini effects the ripple that they never intended.
So let me chime in because I think for the most part now, the clients that have been with me for years, when it comes to withdrawing money out of retirement, they know enough to have that conversation with me. Like, this is what I'm trying to do. And so then I will go through and do an analysis for them of what is the actual cost of withdrawing that, as you say, the $350,000, right? Because you're thinking you're withdrawing $350,000, but once you factor in the federal taxes, the state taxes, the early withdrawal penalty, you just spent $150,000 for use of $350,000. So at the end of the day, it was only $200,000 that you actually had. Well, not just that. Let me jump in. That's an effective interest rate of 50%. Yeah, you're right. You just slash your money in half. So, the question, and these are the conversations, what is really your goal? One of the things I think within our community, quite honest, is that we aren't used to talking to our accountants. We're not used to talking to our attorneys when we make these decisions. Now, Brent, you and I, we talk a lot. We've been talking like, over the weekend. We always call each other. When you call, I'll pick up the phone. If I call, you pick up the phone. So I was shocked. I was like, why is he so busy? When I called you this morning, I was like, he's just so busy. He's like, I'm at the car dealership. So I'm like, is he getting his car fixed? That's what I'm thinking. And finally, I just said, look, I think after the third time of playing phone tag, I was like, man, what are you doing that you that busy that you can't talk to me? He's like, oh, I'm selling my car. I'm like, what?
Right.
Oh, you're right. And it is true. Like, I don't even think that's why I put that caveat on the end. I think many of us just don't think about it. And what we're doing is sometimes we're digging a deeper hole of what we're trying to save ourselves from. Because in both of you all scenarios, you're talking about a person essentially getting a 50% effective interest rate on their money, right? Is in the form of a tax to save themselves from what? A 20% interest rate? So if you would have done the math, you just threw 30% out the window. 30%.
And it probably wasn't even 20%. Honestly, the interest rate on debt, probably, if you're talking about a mortgage on a house, you're probably talking about 5 or 6% in this day and time. And that's on the high end. And then any other debt, credit card debt, could potentially be about 19, 20%. But I'm assuming if you had $350,000 in a retirement account, you weren't carrying at least credit cards with very large interest. Right. I would think.
Right. You're not, you have decent credit, so you're not even at 19 and 20. You might be at 10 or 12%. So you just cost yourself, like you said, 50%, and it definitely wasn't worth it.
Yeah, and I've had a client call me once, and they were doing great in Amazon. I think Amazon just climbed to $1,200. And their statement was, it can go no higher. Well, I take that back. In their head, that was the conversation. Amazon had climbed to $1,200 and they thought it can go no higher. And they pulled their money out and never told me. They didn't communicate. They didn't say, Brent, I'm thinking about doing this. What are your thoughts on Amazon? Because I would have told them, hold it to the moon and back. But, I didn't know. And so afterwards, the person called me. It might have been literally like 7 months later. We were talking, doing a review. And I was like, what's going on with your portfolio? And they were like, well, what do you mean? I said, where's Amazon? Like, this thing just hit $2,500 and I don't see it in here, which at the time accounted for like 20% of this person's portfolio. It would have pushed them into millionaire status far earlier. They still reached it, but it would have put them in millionaire status far earlier. And it was like, why didn't you call me before you sold it? And again, it was harmless. They saw it as it can't go any higher. There's nothing else to gain. So why should I call you? And we're telling you,
because I've been meaning to call you to ask you, should I sell AD? Okay, Cardona. Okay, I just read that article about how they were delisted on Turo.
Yeah, the exchange. Yeah, did you? It was in the group.
Yeah, I know. So we'll have to talk offline whether or not I should. Okay, yeah. I'll get that.
No, I'll just tell you, yeah, I'll sell it. Like,
get rid of that position.
Yeah, no, I got rid of it yesterday, so it wasn't. And Leon got rid of it yesterday as well. So, I mean, stuff like this, right? Having these conversations, we're having it now because it's timely, is what we're talking about. But you have to remember to pick up the phone and just make those phone calls, people. We're going.
There's two things I told you though, where you might get hit with a tax bill today. When you told me you converted that Ethereum, well, you converted something.
Yeah, I converted
Shiba, Ethereum into Shiba, right?
Yeah, Ethereum Classic.
Okay, and ETC. Yeah, I need to get that.
And those things don't change though, right? And it's like either you're going to sell it or you're going to convert it. Either way, it's a taxable event, and so that doesn't change. But it's like you should have those conversations because maybe I did know that, and maybe I was like, oh, converting, I'm free and clear. It was the 1031 exchange or 1035 exchange. And if you don't know what that is, you need to make an appointment with one of these two young ladies. And it's like, you think these things are so innocent when you move, but they're not always innocent. We just talked about $150,000 hit. And so, Attorney Winstead, I know you represent people in tax court. So I'm pretty sure you run into some situations where you're in front of the IRS thinking, if they would have just called me before we got in front of the IRS, life would have been way easier. Do you have any examples, leaving out the names, of course?
Well, I see this a lot probably when it comes down to, I would say I do a lot of collection alternative work.
What does that mean before you just dive in?
Well, yeah, I'm about to go into that, where they owe the IRS and are trying to work out some type of settlement with the IRS. And a lot of times when you're working out settlement, it requires you submitting financial information over to the IRS, right? And so one of the advantages of hiring me or, another person is that we know what IRS is actually looking for. When I say another person, like maybe Joye, someone who's qualified, like that is used to and accustomed to representing clients before the IRS. Once that data is actually submitted to the IRS, guess what? It's now historical data. It's now records, right? So one of the things that, areas where sometimes we see clients get tripped up is some of the information that they submit to IRS prior to coming to us. And now we're trying to defend what it is that they've submitted. And so, for instance, like sometimes I saw this one time with a client actually submitted bank statements to IRS, and it had a lot of ATM withdrawals. And I'm like, what are these ATM withdrawals? Like, what is this guy? What is going on? Because he said he didn't have the ability to pay, right? And so then I just finally said, look, well, let me start. I Googled the ATM withdrawals, and guess what? It was at a strip club. That's where the ATM withdrawals are coming from, right? So, before I submit that information over to IRS, I'm probably going to delay and stall at least another 1 or 2 months. That way I can tell him, look, do not withdraw any more money from that ATM. Go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Absolutely have to do this, And then that way, IRS is not asking me, well, Ms. Winstead, why is your client withdrawing money at the ATM at the strip club when he should be owing or paying us? There's no sympathy for having an inability to pay when IRS can see clearly that you're withdrawing money at a strip club.
Strip club or even MGM or gambling. I mean, you can't say you don't have the money to pay, but yet you have the money to do all these other extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
No, and for anybody listening to this right now thinking, oh man, they just called my whole life out. You want to think like, what are you doing? We're going into the end of 2021. And are you doing any planning? Are you talking to your professionals? If you do not have professionals, the links to both of these, the firms represented here, are listed in the description. Get representation, have a conversation. And again, it just can be as simple as a conversation, because at the end of the day, sometimes you just won't know what you should say. So it takes sitting down with a professional, because they'll pull it out of you. They'll start to ask the questions. They'll start to probe in a way you won't even know they're trying to do it for your best interest. You'll just think it's a conversation. And then in the end, they're like, okay, let's move this here. And you're like, oh my gosh, that was great. Now I understand why I paid for it. And we have that block up. We're like, you know what? I'm not willing to pull out my card. I'm not willing to pay this person, because I am going to use my money at the casino. I am going to go use my money over here. And I promise you, it's far cheaper to have the conversations initially and pay for them, because we are professionals and our time is valuable and we do charge. So when you call, no, there is a fee coming. And no, it shouldn't just be something that a professional does for free, because they need to at least figure out if it makes sense to go forward. They're going to get paid to figure out if it makes sense to go forward, because, I mean, not all the time. Some people do have free consultations, but I have no problems paying the consultation, because really, even when you think it's just a free consultation, nothing's going to happen, you learn a lot, and they give you so many golden nuggets during that time period that is far worth it, even in the discovery period, just to figure out what path should I be taking? What should I at least be thinking about differently? Because even from a conversation I had with Beverly today, I'm not going to think about that car situation the same ever again. And so I'm about to buy a car. So now I'm like, you know what? I'm not buying a car until after I talk to Bev. So
that's right. Let's figure out what makes sense now to offset with the action that you just did.
Yeah, and it's real too. So for you all going to the end of the year, I'm saying this again, and I know you're listening, and I know you're out there thinking, why is he saying it again? Because you're not digesting all the time. So just in case you hear it a different way, this time, pay the money, meet with a professional, have a discussion about what you plan on doing in 2022, and talk about what you did in 2021 before you go into this crunch period where you're extremely anxious. You're trying to mash everything into April the 1st, between April 1st and April 15th, or your final extension because you didn't do planning at the end of 2021. If you can start now, it makes next year far easier and it brings your stress levels way down. And there's a good chance there's something you can do in the next 20, 32 days, 31 days, than if you wait until next year. So for everybody out there who's thinking, oh, I'll ride it out till next year. No. You want to right the ship now. Because I'm sure you all have seen situations where people think, oh, I'll just wait till next year to start really planning for my past year's taxes.
We see it. I do have one client in particular. He gets an annual analysis every year around this time just to see where he's going to be, whether or not he needs to put additional money into the system, or if there are any year-end tax moves. And I actually think it's brilliant because we've been able to, save him. The investment in a consultation is far more, outweighs any cost, right? Because of the knowledge and wisdom he gets from us in order to reduce his tax bill.
Yeah, I know. Even Joy, you and I had a conversation once in passing, and you just said you don't have enough expenses. And in my mind, I was like, "What are you talking about? We're just who wants expenses?" And I literally, I'm a banking and finance major, and I still was like, you want to stay as far away from expenses as possible. And it was like, actually, you might want to get someone's ledger because it could be beneficial to you. But, legitimate ones, of course, are there any things that you need?
Just legitimate.
That's an important word, right?
Yeah, legitimate. It's funny because I was having a call today and, a W-2 worker, and she wanted, to know if there's any tax strategy. Could she use a business? And I said, look, I don't go into business to write off losses, right? Go in with the mindset, hopefully, that this business is going to be profitable. But what you're able to do when you have a business is that what Joy has just said and what you alluded to is that you can actually take legitimate deductions, which would reduce your net profit and therefore reduce your tax strategy. But my strategy is not going to be to have a business and take losses just so that you can lower your taxable income. No.
Exactly.
Is that illegal?
A lot of times, yeah, not only is it illegal, a lot of times if you have these losses and you don't have a real business, the IRS will reclassify it as a hobby, and then you don't get the benefit of the loss anyway.
Yeah, you're going to get audited.
You don't want to get
audited and be assessed additional penalties and interest. You created a headache for yourself.
Okay. And so I met a gentleman, a colleague at a conference once, and he invited me to his office. He bought a $26 million office just because he was trying to offset his income. For people doing things like that, is that legitimate offset, or is that considered weird or strange or red flaggish?
I mean, without the details, I can say at a high level, if he bought the building to run his business, just like if you own you own your business office suite, it's a business expense as long as it is a legitimate business. But if you go out and we decide you want a 60-foot yacht, necessarily, what business are you in unless you open up a yacht business? That's not really ordinary and necessary to run IEA or any of your other ventures. It's nice to have, but it's not an actual business expense. So it's all relative.
Okay. And so let me ask this question for both of you all to answer. Right now, we are moving into December, and somebody wants to sit down to talk about what they did this prior year or to talk about planning for next year. Are you all accepting new clients?
We do have a 2-week window to
Same thing. They got a slim window
A
to get in
2-week
here.
window to accept to get on in here. I would encourage anybody, if you really are trying to figure out whether or not you have any, last minute tax moves, now's definitely your opportunity to get in here. Do not wait, because guess what? The holidays are right upon us. And you know what? I finally took like a 5-day vacation around Thanksgiving, and it felt good. It was actually 4.5 days, but it felt good. So I'm looking at trying to do the same around Christmas,
Okay, excellent. And
yeah, we're both going to be closed. Our office is actually closing after the 15th. So if you're not in here, haven't talked to us by that point, we will not be taking last minute calls on the 30th trying to figure out what your tax situation looks like.
Yeah. We
right.
that break to recharge, because tax season we always get hit and slammed with something, So I commit closing when, Joy, on the 16th?
The 16th, whatever that Friday is, we are
through the new year.
No, and for everybody, that's the reason why you want to get in. And now, like, if you can get in, you save yourself from being the person causing this anguish to them next year about this time. So if you can get in now, again, start the conversation, do a discovery. I'm not going to speak for you all, but I would say, expect the start to happen now and for it to continue for the next couple of weeks. And don't go in thinking, oh, they're going to fix every single thing I have wrong today.
Right.
Or in the discovery. That's not real in my mind. Again, you guys correct me if I'm wrong. It's just not realistic. So for today, we thank everybody for being with us. And we wanted to share those stories about times where we could have helped individuals, but we just didn't know. And then I think it makes it worse when they tell us after the fact, because it's like, oh, not only could I have helped you, I want to help you. And I know even, when I talked to Beverly, I heard in her voice, like, Brent, come on, like, what are you doing? And for me, it literally was just simply a thought, an action, nothing more, nothing less. But it helps to have these conversations. So I hope you all, by us bearing our, faults, this is really me saying, look, I was wrong today. And I'm saying it publicly because hopefully somebody else will go, okay, just because they're in business doesn't mean they do everything right. It does not mean that. And it doesn't mean that just because, you have a team, you always use your team the right way. But I will tell you, it trains me to be better next year. It trains me to be better the year after that. And if I'm trained well enough for long enough, I'm going to be amazing. And so everybody, please take that message with you. We're going into a holiday season. We want to wish you all a happy holiday season, whatever you may celebrate. But it's important to plan, not to become complacent at the end of the year, thinking I just need to coast until I do resolutions. Don't do it. Contact us, set an appointment now, and don't be the person waiting for next year, because you know what? If you are, we will beat you, because we're not waiting for next year to do the things we have to do to be better. We're doing them today, tomorrow. So if anybody's trying to get in contact with you all, Joy, how can they get in contact with you?
Sure. They can reach me at 301-577-6444 or on our website, www.pgs-cpa.com.
All right. And Beverly?
It's funny because I know Joy's number by heart now.
I know yours too, though.
Okay. My number is 301-306-1234. And website www.irshelpattorneys.com.
All right. Before I go and give my information, I want to give a shout out. If you listen to the podcast, you won't see it. But thank you, Maura, for painting me this goldfish. It is amazing. And I love it on my wall. So with that being said, I'll give you my information. If you are interested in getting into the stock market or cryptocurrency or learning more about real estate, you can contact us at IANow.com. Again, IANow.com. Once you get there, you can choose whatever level you want to join the community at and jump into the conversation, learn about investing, and we will definitely help make you aware of what you can and can't do before you do something wrong. So with that being said, you are listening to the 3 Money Amigos. All of our websites are listed in the title, so you can just click it, go directly to our sites, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good day, everybody. Thank you for being with us.